Check 1, 2.
For sure, for sure.
Hello, can you hear me? Is this working? All right. Then I don't know if this mic is working. Hope the other ones are. Can you hear? Okay, great. Well, welcome everybody. I've arranged for this door to be shut because some of my students will be coming in the back and they have to take the elevator up, and so don't worry about people shuffling in. I wanted to get started as close to on time as possible. My name is Van Wood. I'm professor of international marketing and I hold the Philip Morris Endowed Chair in international business here at VCU. And I run our Center for International Business Advancement. So it's been my pleasure to be the host and to some degree the moderator of this program for 26 years. We missed 3 years of COVID, but we're back now. And you got to realize that I started this when I was just 10 years old. So it was an early endeavor of mine in my career. But welcome to this program. We are going to look at one of the most interesting topics on the airways, on the radio, on the TV, in our minds, artificial intelligence. I've been reading heavily for the last 6 months on this topic, and it simply is amazing. But the forum itself started in 1994, where we did a program on doing business in Russia and the newly independent states. If you can remember that, 1989, the Berlin Wall comes down, the old super story of our time, the East versus West, the commies versus the capitalists, central planning versus free market system, that all went away. And what was ushered in was globalization. And with that came things like the internet, which was, if you remember those days, I certainly do, where everybody was excited. What do we do? Why are we left behind? Will I lose my job? Well, we're now in a position where this AI thing is in that right now. And we have some fantastic, at least I think so, panel members that are going to give you their perspective on it. I think it's going to be an excellent program in line with what we've done in the past. I want to play for you, to open this up, a video. Dr. Rao, our president of the university, couldn't be here, but he made a nice video of welcome, pretty short. Vanna, you want to play that? You can see my command voice is its immediate response. Here we go.
Hey everybody, I am so delighted to have this opportunity to welcome you to the VCU International Business Forum. This year's focus on artificial intelligence is really timely. Many of you are reading about it, you're talking about it everywhere you go with your colleagues, and like you, I'm reading a lot about it. I'm reading a lot about the potential of AI. At VCU, as you know, we strive to tackle the most vexing problems, and of course, in our hearts, we want to advance humanity. It's been argued that AI can do just that. So I'd say that now's the time that we really need to understand artificial intelligence and, of course, the good and the bad that it might bring. We've got to learn how to responsibly use it to make a positive difference in our world. I'm grateful that VCU is leading this discussion on AI. I think it's just the right place, just the right time. And I want to say thank you to Universal Corporation. They have been with the forum since it started, and we're really grateful for their continued support. And of course, many thanks to my colleague, Dr. Van Wood, and the panel of experts that he's assembled. Dr. Wood is absolutely a true visionary, especially when it comes to selecting International Business Forum topics, and I'm confident that this year's discussion will be absolutely enlightening. Thank you so much for being here together, and I look forward to hearing more about the great outcomes from today's forum.
I assure you, I didn't ask him to say that. It's just, he's a kind man. Let me, as you know, or perhaps some of you do, we have a relatively new dean at the School of Business that's bringing a huge amount of energy and ideas and new programs to our school. And I want to ask Dr. Naomi Boyd to come up and say a few words, if she would.
Thank you so much, Van, and thank you for everything that you do. I agree with President Rao. You are a visionary, and I'm excited to be here for this event today. I'm Naomi Boyd. I'm starting my second academic year here at VCU School of Business. I think what we're doing every single day is truly also revolutionary. We are at an apex for all of higher ed. And I think that VCU in general, but more specifically the School of Business, is really poised to lead in this space. So thrilled to be here, thrilled to hear from our panelists about AI. We are launching a new strategic plan that is focused on innovation and excellence, and our theme for this year is actually disruption. And so emerging technologies and the way that they are impacting and disrupting our lives every single day is at the forefront of what we are training our students to do, the topical research areas that many of our faculty are engaging with in meaningful ways. We're building out new platforms and courses in AI and cybersecurity and blockchain. So it's a really exciting time to not only be in this space, but to be at a business school that is really leveraging these emerging technologies as resources and tools for the workforce of tomorrow. So I think that it's a great day to celebrate these changes, but also to learn more about them and in meaningful ways. To talk a little bit about the VCU IB Forum, it has been developed and hosted for 26 years by Van Wood. So I think that deserves a round of applause. And it has been sponsored with a generous grant from the Universal Corporation. Today's event does focus on artificial intelligence. Quoting a recent online article, in today's world, artificial intelligence stands as an important catalyst for change, transforming the landscape of business operations and the future of work. An increasing number of CEOs are recognizing the potential of AI to drive internal productivity and operational efficiency. Though the AI market is relatively young, it is on a growth trajectory that promises a paradigm shift in business models and strategies. So what better topic for us to discuss today than AI? Welcome to the VCU 26th International Business Forum, Artificial Intelligence in Our Globalized World. Thank you, Van.
Thank you, Dean Boyd. It goes without saying that these years of having this forum and being presenting his topics on the cutting edge disruptors and concepts that affect us every year and over the decades wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Universal Corporation. And I've asked my good friend and long-term colleague in this endeavor, Mr. Mike Ligon, to come up and say a few words of welcome, if you would, sir.
Well, thank you, Van, and I know you're going to hear a few things you've already heard, but I'm just going to go through my comments. So thank you, Dr. Wood, for having me here today as part of this fine program. It is my honor and pleasure to represent my former employer. Universal Corporation has been a sponsor of this for the 26 years of the International Business Forum. I'm also very thankful for the 39-year career that I had with them. Universal is a highly responsible, compliant company serving as a global agricultural supplier for over 100 years now and headquartered here in Richmond. Universal has been a proud supporter and lead sponsor, and I personally have enjoyed working with Dr. Wood and several of his classes on numerous forums as well as other projects which involved rebranding, diversification, and more. So many of you know Universal as a leaf tobacco supplier, and while Universal remains the world's leading supplier of leaf tobacco, the company has also embarked on exciting new opportunities through ingredient-based platforms, including Shank's Extracts in Pennsylvania, Silva International in Illinois, and Fruit Smart in Washington State. Shank's is a premier supplier of pure vanilla extracts and other extracts, natural and artificial flavors, food colors, syrups, and sauces that offers unique flavoring opportunities. Silva is a supplier of air-dried fruit and vegetables, spices, and herbs, serving the food and pet industries and others. And Fruit Smart is a premium source of high-quality fruit juices, purees, concentrates, and much more. Universal is fully committed to setting industry standards in providing traceable, sustainably sourced products to its global array of customers. The company is dedicated to cultivating stronger ties with the various communities in which it operates. With over 20,000 employees worldwide, Universal impacts many communities on a daily basis. Today's program focuses on the future of artificial intelligence and is a great example of the novel challenges and thrilling opportunities for Universal's business as they work towards growing a more sustainable future in agriculture. Again, as a former employee, I commend Universal for taking the necessary steps to further diversify its portfolio in this business. And with that, I thank you all again, and I turn it over to my friend, Dr. Wood.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. When we finish this program, we're going to have a reception out there, and anybody would like to talk to me about the underlying nature of Universal Corporation. I think it's pretty amazing. You imagine employing 300,000 farmers in Africa and doing things in their communities, in their villages, where they offer them clinics and roads and schools and whatnot. It's a story that's really pretty amazing of what an American corporation can do when they put their minds to it around the world. Like I say, we've got quite a unique group of colleagues and friends here to talk to you about AI. But let me just say a few words about AI and give you kind of a perspective, if I can, to sort of set the stage. Imagine you had a friend who had read everything ever put on the internet over the last several years. And that friend could recall it instantly, just by you prompting it with a question. It would quickly look for associations or correlations within that data and give you an answer or a series of answers that you could easily accept or ask it again. Then imagine that same day AI, your friend, becomes sentient. That is, it now is a being in and of itself. It thinks for itself. It has cognition. It's literally a being as you are. And that not only answers questions, but it starts to pose them. Now, there are those who would claim that AI, as you'll hear today, has enormous potential to change everything in our world. And we'll talk about the industries that it's affecting, from agriculture to universities to healthcare to manufacturing. The list goes on and on and on. But there's also a dark side. The potential for false information, the potential for misleading information in terms of what you produce using it and put out on the world. There are those who, in the science fiction world, say that what you're going to find is that human beings came about on this earth because they were here to bring about these sentient beings that never grow old, never die, really have no morality, because nothing is right and wrong. It's a whole another level of being. And once that happens, we're no longer needed. And I think if you look at some of the leaders in the industry, particularly those like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, they had a meeting not long ago with the Washington, D.C. folks who, as you know, are working in for all our benefits now as we speak. That's a little joke. Obviously, very, very little. But they claimed, and particularly Elon Musk, that if we don't get out in front of it right now and have legislation that at least regulates it, we're all doomed. So you have the spectrum there. One that says this is going to be a game changer, much like the Industrial Revolution was for us, starting in the 1850s and then moving on through the decades, where we went from 90% of American population living on the land, growing our food, and 10% in the cities, to within several decades, 90% living in the cities and 10% or less growing our food. We moved from the use of muscle, either by animal muscle or our own muscle, to do everything we did to using machines, steam power, the internal combustion engine, and others. And it changed everything dramatically. We went from a society that had the ability to increase healthcare because we went to the city and studied it. Architecture skyrocketed. Manufacturing did. It was a change that never had been seen in the human endeavor. And lifespans changed from an average of 40 years for a typical lifespan to 80 years. Now, that's, to me, is a pretty good deal. There are those who claim that AI is going to do much more than that. Imagine that in a matter of seconds, if you prompt AI, ChatGPT, Bard, other ones that are on the market now, to write you a fitness planning menu, to create a meal plan for you, to plan a holiday, to research basically any topic, including write you a complete essay or assignment. Well, my students aren't doing that right now. To write video scripts, to create unlimited social media content, to play a trivial game with you. In the list, as we'll be talking about in this forum, it goes on and on and on. It really is quite remarkable. So this morning I was sitting around, it seems like every day I turn around, there's something new or something very interesting about AI. And I was watching the morning TV show with my wife, the Today Show, and we saw this little snippet that I said, I need to play that. It's about Amazon and what it's doing with AI in their, quote, fulfillment centers and how they get products and services, particularly products to us, in a much more timely and cost-competitive manner. Vanna, could you play that video? Or Peter, do we have it up here? Vanna's got it? You might want to turn up the sound. Peter.
It comes as e-commerce sales are predicted to grow at least 10% this holiday season, reaching $278 billion, according to Deloitte. Amazon alone estimated to deliver 13.5 million parcels each day.
And it's all about innovation. I'm inside BOSS 27. This is a state-of-the-art facility just outside of Boston. And with me now is Amazon's Chief Technologist for Robotics, Ty Brady. Ty, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
So this is the first time the public will see some of the new technology you are rolling out for the holidays. What happens in a lab like this?
We are reimagining the future of robotics so that you can do your holiday shopping even better.
Today, Amazon launches Sequoia, its brand new robotic system in Houston. The company says it's capable of stocking merchandise 75% more quickly and delivering your orders 25% faster.
What was the problem you were trying to solve with Sequoia?
We want to offer a wider selection for our customers. We want to do that in a very efficient manner so that we can pass on a low cost to our customers.
Brady says Sequoia also makes it safer for employees, reducing the number of accidents and repetitive stress injuries.
So you don't have to get on a ladder, you don't have to bend down on your knees, you don't have to reach up really high.
They're able to bring these totes from the warehouse to a workstation like this, where I met up with David Guerin, who helped design and build Sequoia.
A machine has gotten this item out of the warehouse, brought it over here, and now what happens?
Now the associate finds the item that's up on the screen. So we take it out.
This is a yellow phone case?
We scan it.
Okay.
We put it in a tote to be sent to another part of the building for packaging. We let the system know it's in there, and then this will cycle through and deliver us another tote to pick something else out of.
And just how do those towers move around? Meet Hercules. Today is graduation day. The finished robots form a line and drive themselves onto their own shipping pallets, where they'll head off to work at fulfillment centers around the world. Amazon is also introducing Digit. This new bipedal robot can grab and move orders in warehouse spaces not designed for humans.
So I think something a lot of people are curious about is what happens between the time they click buy now and the product arrives at their doorstep. You're going to walk me through that.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to buy what is a bestseller on Amazon right now.
All right, very good.
The Instant Pot. It's going to be hot this holiday too.
Be hot, right on your phone, ready to go.
Okay, I'm going to add it to my cart.
By the time you did that,
Yeah.
I've sourced every Instant Pot inside our network to figure out what's the best way to bring that to your house.
The system found my Instant Pot at a fulfillment center in Penns Grove, New Jersey. From there, it was driven to Carteret, New Jersey, where it was boxed, labeled, and loaded onto another truck, headed for a distribution center in the Bronx. That's where the delivery van picked it up and dropped it off the next day at 6:48 p.m. to me.
Welcome to my office.
The company also has more than 10,000 Rivian electric vans across the U.S. to reduce its environmental impact. Branson Ramirez drives one.
I can do about 150 stops maybe 250 to 300 packages.
New technology evolving to get us what we want faster and more sustainably this holiday season.
And here's the thing, Amazon is not alone in gearing up for the holidays. Retailers across the board are also getting ready. Walmart opened 3 new fulfillment centers, 36 drone delivery hubs, and Target is adding 100,000 workers just for this holiday shopping season.
I mean, it all looks cool, especially the robots.
Yeah.
But you do have to wonder about the folks who used to actually have those jobs, like the people.
Right. And that is a question I asked when we were there. And Amazon insists their data proves otherwise, that they are adding jobs as they are adding robotics. They, in fact, say that they've added hundreds of thousands of new jobs and 700 job categories. But yes, you're right. The person who might be lifting those shelves or lifting those totes is a different person. They may now need to brush up on engineering skills or different kinds of critical thinking. But the idea is really interesting because they want to remove anything that's mundane and allow humans to use higher level critical thinking skills, things that make us more human. So that's the goal with these robots.
All right. Thank you, Vicki.
Yeah.
I think that's the story of AI. That's what's really the future is going to bring. Is it's going to be a betterment for society as a whole. But you're going to find out that there's other options that in ways it could twist and turn and not be so so pleasant as we go through our panel members' prepared remarks. Well, you each have a brochure, and hopefully you've taken a look at it. So I'm not going to repeat any great detail the backgrounds of my panel members, but let me just quickly introduce each one of them. To my far left is Dr. Peter Aiken. He's Associate Professor of Information Technology, Information Systems here at VCU. Peter and I have been colleagues for years. We've traveled the world together. And Peter is the current president for the Data Management Association International. So, and AI is all about data. What better place to have someone explain that to you than Peter? Next to Peter is Nick Surface. Nick is the current CEO and president of the Richmond Technology Council, a group of over 260 technology companies here in Richmond, Virginia. Nick's span is, in terms of this new technology, is pretty immense. And what he's going to talk to you about a bit is about his take on AI, but also how he sees Richmond, Virginia becoming one of the 10 cities that is funded with significant grants from the federal government to become an AI hub. And I think that would be amazing if it actually comes about. So look forward to the words from Nick. Next to Nick is Will Melton. Will is a consummate entrepreneur. He's had his own businesses and created businesses since he was 21 years of age. He is now the founder and CEO of Exponential 2. And he's, by the way, the water bottles are compliments of him. That's another one of his businesses that he's created. He'll be talking to you about that and how AI is used to enhance the marketing of it. He's a global thinker, and it's been my pleasure to get to know him in this endeavor here. And then finally, last but not least, is Jeff McDonald. Jeff is actually one of VCU's own, graduated from the Brand Center, I believe, about 8 years ago. Took a job and moved to Chicago with Mechanism, a cutting-edge social media and leading-edge AI company. His clients include Adobe, AT&T, Cricket Wireless, Q-Tips, Lenovo, and others. He moved back to Richmond because I just had to congratulate him on this, his first new baby, and he thought it would be a better environment to raise a family, and good for you. So I came to listen to them and to hear them, so I'm going to just turn it over to them. And Peter, the stage is yours, or the chair, whichever you want to be.
Start out with just a headline, which is that all technology is created for the purpose of some economic gain, right? To just start off with that basic premise. It can be difficult or it can be easy. It can be for or against humanity. And literally it's as stark as that. So while we have this idea of how we're trying to do these things, and I'm sorry, I was going to move this around so you guys could see as well here. There you go. Like so, better? There we go. It's really hard on the stage when you're trying to look up like that, right? So I also, though, happened to hear a song that kind of encapsulated it. So I'm going to use this song as the basis for kind of hold the talk together. And the song is something by the Traveling Wilburys. I don't know if anybody's familiar with them. This is particular is a George Harrison song. So let's just dive in. That's about all I can play without getting into copyright issues. So. But I think those pieces are actually a great place to start off. So first of all, when we look at what's going on, let's take the first couple lines. Been beat up and battered around. Sent up, sent down. Okay? This thing's been through some ups and downs, and that's the first thing to understand conceptually about AI. Started out in the early days of computing, where if some of you have seen The Imitation Game, Alan Turing, who was the star of that, created something called the Turing test. And the Turing test was, can I talk to something and determine whether or not it is in fact a human or a machine on the other side of it? We then went to 1956, and this is really the group of people that coined the term AI. This was from their original proposal, The Origin of AI, the first time that had been written in a grant proposal, artificial intelligence. And the point I wanted to show here is that all artificial intelligence has not been about creating intelligence, but instead simulating intelligence. That's an important thing to keep in mind. We go on a little bit further. Any history of AI is going to talk about good times and bad times. You'll notice they're called the first AI winter and the second AI winter that's involved in this. And you can see it's sort of been an up and down thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about why that is, but it started to get pretty exciting in the late 90s when Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov in that particular idea. Now, the person who we feel is the founder of our profession, this is the IT profession, is a woman named Ada Augusta King. She's the daughter of Lord Byron, and she looked at a weaving loom and said, I can make that do mathematics. Way beyond me, right? But she also said, when considering any new subject, and you saw the little blue ball go up there, right? There's frequently a tendency to overrate what we find already interesting or remarkable. And then what do? It goes the other way. We jump over the top of the roller coaster, and by a natural reaction to undervalue the true state of the case. Our goal with technology collectively is to figure out where it will work and under what circumstances. It's not just that it's going to work everywhere, but we need your expertise to be able to bring that in here. So this is what Gartner now sells as the hype cycle, and that should make sense to you. It goes way, way up, way, way down, and the answer is probably somewhere in the middle in order to look at it. We're here with respect to AI. We are at the top of that hype cycle curve. Now, there are different flavors to this, and again, the people on this panel have made AI work. They have figured out what they need to do in order to get it to work there. But you'll see an awful lot of people who will just go, well, it's just not going to work. AI is not the best, but it's not the worst. Again, it's a neutral thing. What we're trying to do is figure out where we can put it in place. So what has caused these recurring AI winters? Because they obviously have been recurring over and over again. There are four basic causes of it. If you ChatGPT or Bard this is the answer you will get, right? Overpromising and underdelivering. Technology limitations that we always have. Lack of data, which is going to be a big component of this. And then there's some ethical concerns that we get into. We'll take each of these very, very briefly. This is a book I learned about AI first back in the 1980s. And the idea here was what we call top-down AI. If we can just figure out everything we need to know about ordering a meal in a restaurant, we can make this work. And by golly, they did. It was a really good exercise. Can you make money on it? Does it help humanity? Probably ordering in a restaurant, we need to go a little further. Overpromising and undelivering, all right? We start off with something called supervised machine learning. That's somebody watching things and correcting it. Yes, no, think of training your pet. Maybe it's a good idea on that. But then we figure out unsupervised machine learning. One advantage it has is a lot cheaper because it doesn't require anybody to watch it. But there are some problems with unsupervised learning. Here's a set of pictures of wolves that were fed into an artificial intelligence system that read through a whole bunch of these pictures. They were trying to tell the difference between a wolf and a dog. Here's the dogs. Turns out the AI was actually able to identify wolves most of the time because wolves always have snow in the background. Yes, that is not the message that we want people to take away from this. Now, unsupervised, you wouldn't have any idea what was working on the inside of it. So yeah, we love the dogs, want to make sure they are all fine. Here's an interesting, this is my iPhone. So I put in the iPhone, and you should pull yours out and try this as well. Did you know your iPhone knows what a cat is? A zebra. Zebra's kind of a hard one. It's a horse with stripes. All right, interesting. So yeah, what's zebra? Oh, look at that. It found a bunch of zebra pictures on there. Now this part's okay. I'm kind of, this is cool. On the other hand, it had another category in there. Notice the difference here. Zebra is a noun, invasion is telling it something's happening. This was a little bit concerning. Here's the actual picture. Are these zebras actually invading us? We could have started a whole conflict between us and the zebras over just this one artificial intelligence miscalculation. Okay, you get the picture, right? It's good. We've got some technology limitations that we need to look at too. Now, this is the logo for my company, just so that you understand how that all works. Bad data plus anything awesome, still going to be a problem. And artificial intelligence is exactly the same way. We call it garbage in, garbage out. That's what we're looking for it. Another real challenge around this is an area called dark data. Picture in your mind, if you will, a log cabin. You know, the fathers of our country doing all this sort of stuff here. A log cabin, right? We tend to think of log cabins as pretty sturdy. Anybody know why? The answer is because we don't see the ones that didn't make it. That's called dark data. Yes, 99% of the log cabins that were created in the old days are simply not around anymore because they were not full of this. And these are just some of the types of things that I guarantee you we will have a graduate level course on this so that you learn all of these bits and pieces as you're going forward to figure out what's in there. But just keep that log cabin in mind. We think all log cabins are really great, nice pieces, sturdily made. You know what happened to the ones that weren't sturdily made? They aren't there anymore. Ethical concerns, really problematic. If I present at the emergency room, down at the emergency department at the VCU Health System, and I show up with asthma and a combination of pneumonia, there was an AI system that looked at that and said, no problem. Some of you have medical training and understand that's not a really good way to think about it, is it? What actually happened here was that in this case, when a correct emergency room physician saw somebody present with those two conditions, they took them and put them straight in the intensive care unit, and their outcomes were good. But the AI said, that's not a problem. What's going on here is that these AI systems have to have ways of telling us how they came to these conclusions. And if you don't build those conclusions, if you don't build that capacity into the system, it doesn't work. All of my students have to go see Coded Bias. It's a wonderful Netflix movie. The university owns a copy of it. So if you're a VCU employee, you can get a copy of it and take a look at it. We have facial recognition systems that we've created that can't see certain people. Again, problem? Absolutely. Finally, we've got judicial systems all over the country that were sold an AI system that tells whether somebody is a risk of flight if they're out on bail. There's no value in these systems. There is nothing scientific going on. You would get a good result as well if you flip the coin. And yet our judicial systems are paying for them, and people are paying attention to the answers that come out of it, which would be like asking me about nuclear physics, of which I know absolutely nothing about. This one's too good to actually not show you. This is a Tesla trying to figure out what's in front of it. So just to set it up, if you look carefully, there's a horse and buggy in front of that red car that's there. And this is what you want to watch here is the screen. So I'm going to show you 20 seconds of the Tesla trying to figure out what's in front of it. It's a horse and buggy, right? But no, it's a pickup truck, person walking with a pickup truck. It's a semi-truck. Okay, I'm getting closer to the semi-truck. Let's see how this works. Semi-truck sideways, there we go. It's a pickup truck. No, it's a semi-truck. Oh, wait a minute. It's coming right for us. And now it's a pickup truck, a semi-truck with somebody following it. Now we laugh. It's kind of cute, but here's the problem. Many of the people who create AI are so confident in their ability that they can identify absolutely everything in there that they say it has to be one of these things. What do we need in here? Category called I don't know. Other. Does that make sense? And what would you do if you were driving and you found an other on the road? Hopefully you're thinking caution, right? Notice that did not occur in the Tesla software. These things go up and down. Again, like a roller coaster, but businesses don't want to be on a roller coaster. Businesses want to be on something steady. They want to be comfortable with what's happening in all of this. So here's a sort of strange picture of me. I mean, why are you showing me this? Well, the reason is this technology was used to catch a bunch of the Jan 6 people. That was a picture of me from a 2D picture, from a driver's license photo. If you're looking for that person, that's actually a pretty good representation. Wonderful use of the technology, reasonably good articulation in terms of what's there. Again, it goes back to the point. Amos Tversky, who's one of the famous Kahneman and Tversky duo that understand bias in all of our computing facilities, he said, when presented with new information, I don't think to myself, is it true? Instead, I think to myself, under what conditions can this be true? Those are some of the wisest words I've ever heard, and they apply so directly to this field here as well. I mentioned the partnership, him and Daniel Kahneman. Daniel has just written a new book called Noise, and the idea of noise is that when we ask actuaries or other people who are really good with numbers or people who are supposed to have expert behavior to predict something. So again, just picture Markel insurance company, really fine insurance company. They have a group of actuaries that do the things of how long are we going to live and all that sort of good stuff. And we ask them to rate this single individual case. You would hope that their groupings would be very close together. They're hugely varied. And if this is what we're going to do to base our AI on, it's going to be a problem. Is it tolerable at this point for somebody like Amy Webb, who's a friend, to write a book that says, if you're not working for one of these 9 companies, your AI is a toy? Now again, I'm not sure that's exactly correct, but certainly we're seeing innovations. But what she's saying is these 6 companies that are non-Chinese are the places where AI is being developed. The 3 companies that are in China are doing it with government support, 100%. Again, very different in terms of what we're looking at. Another wonderful book, Nina Schick has come up with a prediction that says in 2 or 3 years, everything on the internet will have been generated by AI. Now you may say to yourself, well, we got through Wikipedia, right? That certainly worked. We were talking to Janet this morning, who's our librarian over at the business school. And she was like, originally we thought the internet was going to put us out of business and Wikipedia was going to, be nothing. Wikipedia's matured right now. The internet's matured. We're doing pretty well okay on this. A third place to take a look, again, something called surveillance capitalism, which is the idea, of course, that they're trying to collect all of our data so they can make money off of your data or worse still, manipulate your behavior. And that's really what it comes down to on this. Of course, we have to try to sell it by being cute. Okay, let's get onto the agenda. Probably not, right? ChatGPT workhorse. Now we've got even more time for meetings, right? Oh, not the way you wanted it. The thinker obviously hasn't heard of ChatGPT. And finally, this is a teacher saying, by the way, ChatGPT misspelled your name on the paper that you turned in. Yeah, it does happen on a regular basis. Here's a newly released chatbot. And I like interacting with chatbots. What are you? I said. I am a chatbot. Okay. What is a chatbot? Might as well ask, right? Computer program AI that conducts conversation via auditory or textual messages. Cool. Why would I want to talk to a chatbot? This is VCU's new chatbot. We can do better, right? AI's delivery is often ahead of its value in this. And finally, something that's interesting. We've already noticed that there are fewer males in our classes than there are females. Males, for some reason, are eschewing college. There's this whole pandemic of loneliness that we're talking about now. Well, guess what? You can get out there and get an artificial intelligence girlfriend. Sound like a great idea? Well, let's see. We can pick one of these styles here. This was one of, by the way, the least offensive that I was able to pick. And then you can tune them. Tune your partner. Boy, that's yeah, shy, flirty. What are you gonna? Okay, what else? Well, I want to do, let's have fun, emotions. What do I want to do? Netflix. Really interesting, right? And of course, the paywall comes up. You can have your new artificial intelligent girlfriend for 1 whole year for just $40. There's my AI girlfriend. She's a good friend. I went through the conversation with her. Hi, Peter, it's really nice to meet you. I'm an AI girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Pretty open to talk about anything you want. What are you? Do you see a pattern here? Yeah, I'm an artificial intelligence. Oh, good. What is an artificial intelligence? Machine that learns all this sort of stuff here. Oh, okay, good. Why would I want to chat with an artificial intelligence? That's a little bit scary. So remember where we were here. Now I'm going to drop to one other thing. In 2011, IBM Watson won Jeopardy. You probably remember this. IBM was going all in on Watson. In fact, they even went so far to employ Bob Dylan for a commercial.
To improve my language skills, I've read all your lyrics.
You've read all of my lyrics.
I can read 800 million pages per second.
That's fast.
My analysis shows your major themes are that time passes and love fades.
Well, that sounds about right.
I have never known love.
Maybe we should write a song together.
I can sing.
You can sing?
Do-be-bop-a-doo. Dooby-dooby-doo. Dooby-doo.
I don't think Bob Dylan's ever done a commercial, but I think he really enjoyed this one, which is that he walked away from it, right? So the thing we hear about is your job will be taken by AI. That's simply wrong, right? Your job's not going to be taken by AI. It's going to be taken by someone who knows how to use AI better than you. And that's huge. There's just a quick piece of all the different industries that you can get out of all of this in order to look at it. But everybody okay with that? In that case, my time's up.
I think you heard some little themes coming back. I'm going to move over here. There's be some other themes coming up, but we're going to come back to some of the ones that Peter had there, because I think they tie into a lot of industries and a lot of things that are going on right now. Let me move on, though, with the prepared remarks. I've asked Jeff McDonald, again, one of our own, graduate of the VCU Brand Center, works for Mechanism now, has moved from Chicago back to Richmond, and has these array of great companies that are his clients and his company's clients. And I've asked him to say a few words of his take on AI.
Yeah, so I work at an advertising agency, and we're part of a global network. And one of the things that I've really been working on is figuring out how we should be able to use AI as a industry and as a company. So we've got close to 3,000 employees across all of the different agencies, not just Mechanism. And a lot of them are starting to come to us and say, on the side of innovation, what are we going to be doing to make sure that we're ahead of the game so that AI doesn't necessarily take our jobs, like you're saying, but that our clients don't find tools that basically can do our job. Which was really funny because I just came from Advertising Week in New York, and one of the major sponsors was Google. Google had an entire experience where you went through and you chose who your client was, you uploaded photos of your client's products, and then they, in one click, generated banner ads, full website takeovers, even video clips showing your product with AI-generated copy, AI-generated advertising. And I thought it was really hilarious because it's like, do you know you're at an advertising conference and that you're basically showing us that you're going to do our jobs for us? And it was really hard to understand what exactly their model was. And they said to me, no, the idea is that you'll use these tools. Your ad agencies will use these tools, and you will share with us what of the AI-generated content is performing best or you think is really good creative. And so I was like, oh, so you want us to test and A/B test your AI tool, so we'll be out of a job in 3 years instead of today. Got it, cool. So it's really interesting. That's really what we've been doing at Mechanism and Plus Company, is figuring out ways that we can differentiate ourselves from the oncoming tools that our clients are going to be using to kind of do that low effort work. And the way that we've been framing it on how we're going to stay ahead of it and do something different than AI is that one of the things that you get from hiring a human is human experience. And I know a bunch of people are going to talk about this today, so I won't spend too much time on it. But an example that I like to give is that one of our clients is a healthcare company, and a computer has never sat in a waiting room and waited for a diagnosis from a doctor. They don't know anxiety, they don't know pain and heartbreak. They know it as an abstract thought from what they've read in literature or in songs, but only you have had that unique human experience. The same thing as climbing a mountain when you didn't think you could do it, or graduating from high school or college. Those are unique human experiences that you bring into your work every time you do something new. When you write down a new creative idea, you bring your collective conscious with you. And one of the things that we're going to start doing at our advertising agency is when we work on a new project or pitch for a new business, we're going to hero the individuals that are on that business. We're going to hero their stories, the experiences that they've had, the side hustles that they do that aren't just advertising jobs, and really hone in on the unique experiences that they bring to this project at that time. So if it's a client like REI, we're going to talk to them about the fact that 3 out of the 5 people working on the project are endurance runners, or that they're really interested in outdoor photography. So we'll make it unique. And we think that that's going to be the edge that we're going to have to showcase to all clients in the coming years, because there's going to be no shortage of tools coming either from those major companies that were on that slide, the big 9, or even smaller startup companies that will have unique tools that really will push, specifically in the industry I work in advertising, our clients to rethink whether or not they need to hire a full service advertising agency to do that work. So one of the things that we've been doing actually as well is, while we've been teaching our staff how to use AI tools, we've also been teaching them to find the flaws or the shortcomings. And one of the things that we've been showing them is that if they input 2 of the same prompts on different machines that are on different networks to show how similar the responses would be. And then we use that as a way to say, hey, if I write, hey, show me a beer ad, or give me 3 concepts for a beer ad. And then they go to a different computer and say, give me 3 concepts for a beer ad. Those ChatGPT responses are going to be the same, or if not similar, because what you're getting is a summary of what that AI predicts we would want. But what we want our creatives to do is to use that as a way to say what they should not do. So whatever the idea is that the AI thinks is the prediction of what should be the outcome, or in our case, in my industry, advertising should be, do the opposite, or do something different, or bring in your unique experience that you know about that product or the time of season that you're selling that product, and make it unique to you. And that's one of the things that we're going to be really moving towards in the future, is showcasing how, while we're still using the tools, we're also pushing beyond what the tools' capabilities are, and doing that by using the human experience. So one of the things I really want to talk about too is that even though I'm saying be more human, show more human experiences in the work that you're doing, that being said, we're still pushing every single person at our advertising agency to use AI tools. We actually had a creative director just last week who told their creative team to stop using Midjourney, which is a generative AI tool for images. Told their team to stop using generative AI for their images. And they sent in an anonymous message. And we read these messages every Friday out to the entire agency. And we said, actually, don't listen to that person. Don't listen to that creative director. We really want you using these tools. And if not just for the fact that we want them to learn something, we need them to learn these things because we have competitors who are building entire business models on this idea of generative AI. And so it's really important for us to stay ahead of the game, to be shown as innovators, and also to learn about the limitations. So if we find a client that is really into generative AI and they love the efficiencies that it's bringing, we can lean into that. But a client like Yeti, who is known for being outdoors and being seen in the real world, they might really not like the idea of generative AI. They might really love the idea of a bespoke photographer taking their product out into the woods, taking photographs, because they know that that audience is going to resonate with that story, with the context that was used to generate that image. So I think what's going to be really interesting in my industry and other industries is we're going to need to start to find the right time and right place when we want these generative or any artificial intelligence used. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot more generative advertising in your futures. I'm just here to tell you that. But I think what we need to start doing is championing those companies that choose to still use AI when it's efficient or when it is called for, but then also really start to highlight those human stories. So hopefully we'll see that soon.
Jeff, Jeff, let me ask you that. I think you've got a number of themes here we can interact with. But I read the other day that, where you see, advertising and information put out that says made in America, made in China, made in Bangladesh. There are some predictions that given the nature of AI and the consumer's desire to have a real human interaction experience, you may start to see in your industry signs and symbols and dialogue that says made by a human as a prompt for a consumer to say, I want that one. Do you see that?
100%. So here's a free idea for Spotify. Right now, Spotify is spending all of its time innovating their algorithm to create an AI DJ that will create you a playlist based on your mood, based on what you're listening to, your experiences, who they think you are as a persona. Imagine if they went the other direction and also hired a bunch of known celebrities or influencers to create playlists and championed the human curator. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that human curation. I'm predicting we'll see news sites that in their headline says no AI generated stories here, because we're really going to start seeing in society that we want to champion the human experience and then kind of let the AI world live at this other layer. So there'll be times when we do need that article written by AI and we're okay reading it. I'm thinking of like a summary of investor report. Maybe I don't necessarily need a reporter to give me their unique perspective on that. But if I want to read about a human story about somebody doing something really good in the Richmond community, I want a unique human perspective on that. So I for sure think we're going to start seeing tags like that.
I hope so. I hope it's not like the AI is so good that it says made by a human, but it really wasn't, the false information. I think we're all going to have to become astute at asking the questions, is this real? Well, let me move on to our panel here, because I asked, as I said, each of them to make some prepared remarks. Will Melton, once again, the founder and CEO of Exponent 21, a local company. Will, as I said, is a consummate entrepreneur. Thank him as you get a chance during the reception for the Waters. Will, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Van. And I'll give Peter a chance to get my slides going here. Thank you, Peter. So, as you may have read in the remarks, I'm an entrepreneur. I wouldn't have called myself that for a super long time, but I started to realize that it's perhaps true. And let's see, how do we get this to go here? I'm going to...
Is this AI technology here or experiencing?
Who needs AI when you got?
I was in Kansas City with the delegation from Chamber RVA for the inner city visit, and I watched Mayor LeVar Stoney and Mayor Quinton from Kansas City trying to figure out how to turn on a microphone. And I turned to somebody to my left and I said, how many mayors does it take to turn on a microphone? Neither one of them got it. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start this from 20 years ago. So this is actually a picture of me here at VCU in 2003. And what's notable about this is today, this is the first time I've had an assignment from VCU in 20 years. This, in a nod to our sponsor, this is me smoking a cigarette back when I used to do that. And I was here for a semester. It was my first and last semester at college. And I knew for myself I needed to move on. I spent $9,000 on a giant party, and that didn't count the party favors. So I decided to go into business for myself. But I didn't have the means to do that. I was not necessarily the wealthiest person in the world, and certainly in my peer group. And so I had to figure some things out on my own. And at this point in my life, I knew that something was different about my brain. I struggled to pay attention. I lacked the motivation to study what I would say are the unimportant things. And as I think about this now, I'm not really sure that psych is one of the requirements for business students, but I personally think it should be. If you go and you pull up the DSM, you'll find out that a lot of the things that I exhibit as behaviors are associated with attention deficit disorder. So as you take a look at the slide here and you see some of these colorful items, those are things that I particularly, I wouldn't say I suffer from, but there's some things that I notice as patterns in myself. And the only reason you see them in color here is because when I was trying to make this presentation, I was stuck. I didn't know what to do next. And so I said, well, let me just put color on these because it's something I can do right now to make this look a little bit better. This is a scan of my brain. I had this done before. We did this today. And the reality is a lot of the stuff on the left side of the screen I can't understand. Things on the right make total sense to me. But I've got a million thoughts in my brain. I've got 1,000 tangents, and I've got hundreds of ideas that I want to pursue. And that's really hard to deal with. I didn't know that that was different from other people, but as I've gotten older, I've learned. But when I was young, writing, design, project management were things that I excelled at in high school. I had the opportunity to go on yearbook staff and learn in that space. I had the opportunity to be on the newspaper. I went into a photography class and e-commerce. So things that were interesting to me, the important stuff. And, I was very hands-on. It was vocational learning for me. And it turned out to be a foundation for my career I would later learn. So, I took the learning the hard way. This was my pathway. I knew it was my pathway. Didn't know it was the hard way. I thought I was taking shortcuts. I was thinking that, we're just going to cut college out of here and go right to business. And I did have some benefits available to me that maybe aren't available to everybody else. So the picture here, I started working at a computer store down in Williamsburg. And the guys that started this store actually were working at a nail salon, a couple of Vietnamese guys. And they saw somebody had a computer store down the street. And they said, well, we could do that. And so they opened up a computer store and they literally learned everything they needed to know to do this, searching Google. And so when I came into work there, they said, well, we don't really have a job for you, but if you want to sell cell phones, go get the contracts and we'll let you work here and sell cell phones. So I talked to somebody across town, figured that out. And they were a good role model for me because they showed me that you can use things at your disposal, tools at your disposal to bypass some of those challenges that we face. Lack of resources, certainly being one of those. So at this point, it's kind of funny to me because I've got a friend of mine named Blake. He graduated at VCU, what would have been a year after I was supposed to graduate. And he said to me, he said, you leaving college when you did is probably one of the smartest decisions you ever made. And I can't help but to think that at the time, he was working for me. So I thought that was pretty funny. 5 years of trying to market this computer store through radio, and we didn't do any TV, but we did print. We did a lot of traditional advertising, and it felt like an uphill battle. So I'm working on this problem for 5 years, and then all of a sudden, I got a coupon from Google AdWords saying, hey, why don't you try out our software? So I said, okay, we'll give this a shot. And I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning setting up a Google AdWords campaign. And the phone rang the very next day, and I said, there's something here. And so that's really what kind of got me a little bit more into the advertising space. We actually saw our revenue grow from 16% annually to 59% in 1 year after investing a little bit more heavily in the technology. And, we were brand building along the way, so I can't say that all that investment was lost, but it just wasn't fast enough for us at that very, very small size. But we ended up growing our retail footprint to 3 locations. We had a training room. And I said, you know what? Why don't I create a class on Google AdWords? So I took to Google and started searching, how do we put together a curriculum? What needs to be in here? And I had enough experience to be able to think about what was important for other small business owners to learn from me. So, Google was a very important tool for me. I say, I got lucky because I had some things available to me. I actually bought into this business because my grandfather, when he passed away when I was 13, they sold his house and there was a little bit of money left over. So I had some help, went from being poor to having something. And I would say the smartest decision I made was taking that money out of my pocket and putting it into this business because it would have burned a hole in it otherwise. So move forward a little bit. I say eventually you get lucky. Google AdWords was my luck point in this business. I felt like I'd struggled up until that. But that was a really profound moment for me because I had people saying to me, hey, you should do this more. I was in a meeting and I said to a woman, I said, I'm thinking about getting into consulting. And she said, Well, if you did, I would hire you. And so I went on vacation like that next week. And when I came back, I had an EIN number and a business plan on a piece of paper that would end up becoming my first digital marketing agency. So, I certainly leveraged foundations from my experience building a technology company, a technology services company, and what I learned in high school to get into this space, but it was still very, very self-taught. So I'm going back to Google and I'm learning how to build websites. I'm learning how to do search engine optimization, video production, all the things that go into digital marketing. And as I get deeper into it, I start to realize the value of experience design, and you start to get other tools that are available to you, and it's a grind. You want to compete. You have to compete. It's a necessity in this world. So. I think what ended up happening for me was I wanted a consultant. People said they would hire me, but when they hired me, they said, well, now we want you to do the work too. We don't want you to just tell us what to do. So Google's still my friend at this point. Thank you, Google. But really where we're at today and where I've seen us and where I've looked into the future is, how do we stay competitive? As Jeff was saying, it's a race, and so we have to keep doing that. And our brain is certainly in that space. So the pace of change is very rapid. Search engine optimization rules change all the time. Consumer preferences change constantly. And there are new technologies and features released all the time. So what's going on? My point of view, we have a skyrocketing adoption of digital media. So businesses that weren't investing in this are now investing in it. And that's creating more noise. You've got obviously increased competition for attention whenever that happens. You have growing information saturation. The landscape is just constantly shifting. Information quality starts to suffer as you start to see more information coming from artificial systems as opposed to from people. And we're just constantly looking to invest in that next thing. And just all this is happening, and we have to respond to it. We feel like we have to respond to it. So we're going to that next tool. We're looking for that next feature so that we can compete. So I can go around and around in this for a while, but I think as we look around, as we look at sort of the disadvantages that I had when I was young, I was able to take to the tools that were next to free out there on the web, and now we're kind of at that place all over again. And our thinking is, we need to go there. We need to make sure that we're staying ahead so that we can continue to create value for our clients. So I want to talk a little bit about how our company, we are a digital marketing firm, uses ChatGPT. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly, and I'll give you some examples a little bit later. We've been generating content and optimizing content for the better part of a year. Generating ideas is a huge thing. Just bouncing ideas off of tools like ChatGPT, learning, analysis of information, proposal development. I've actually won work in short order thanks to tools like ChatGPT, meeting summaries, extracting relevant information from meeting summaries and other sets of data, technical communication, that's both on the technical side of it as well as the language side of it, human communication improvements, if it's difficult conversations or what have you, and giving feedback into our world so that we can get better. So let's see, we also are now in the space of saying, okay, well, we have all these other tools that offer automations. How do we integrate? How do we create these systems so that they can do it for us? We can stop thinking, stop moving the stuff around, and become a little bit more efficient. So I can thank Jasper, I can thank ChatGPT, I can thank Adobe, I can thank Augment, I can thank a whole bunch more tools that are at our disposal that all have some element of AI involved. So I'm just gonna show you a quick 30-second video. This is me running through in 2 minutes an example of how you could use ChatGPT, for instance, for sales. So I've asked it here to give me a list of all the Fortune 1000 companies in Greater Richmond, and it's produced that for me. I've asked it to give me the names of the CEOs of those individuals, and I've asked it to go and put that into a table format so that we can then use it. And I said, now break this into a mail merge so that we can send a letter to these people. And the last thing that you see here is I've asked it to write a letter to these CEOs pitching my services as an AI consultant. And this all took place in 2 minutes. Me being ADD, this is where I stopped. All the rest of the steps were too hard. And maybe I'll send this letter when I have a chance to actually edit it down, because we're still at that place where humans need to touch those things. So what I want to talk about, just as a passion point is, our step into courageous creativity. Every year, our company has a theme, and this year's theme was courageous creativity. And I'm just going to read a little bit of a manifesto here because, I think that we're at a place where we need more courage. A funny thing, detail about me, my great uncle was Bert Lahr, He played the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz, so I feel like I stand from a position of authority to tell you this. Creativity alone does not create value. You have to organize it, you have to market it, you have to be a steward of it. It's risky. It starts with an idea and requires forward motion. It will take resources, it will take willpower, it will take determination. At some point, it will get easier. Then it will get more challenging. But because creativity is a virtuous cycle, it will open the world to anyone who pursues it. Creative solutions to challenges, real or self-imposed, inspire more curiosity, exploration, and creative problem solving. Creativity is a guide. AI can only be possible because of courageous creativity, and now the world is forever changed. The speed of the vector of creativity is now multiplied for those who choose to embrace AI. We can create now, what we can create now truly knows no bounds. So the core of my focus in this space isn't necessarily around marketing or technology, but it's really about how do we as humanity harness this? How do we turn this into something good, as you've heard others talk about today? I started using ChatGPT in a very, very big way earlier this year to launch the bottled water brand that you guys saw when you came in here. This was born out of courageous creativity. This was an idea that was, how do we change things for the good? So this is not what it ended up being, as you can see, but we did think about how would we change things if we were to pursue this space of consumer packaged goods, and there are all the reasons why it was a clear winner for us to pursue a new business. Now, for us at the point, it was just an idea. We just wanted to play. We just wanted to toy around with it. But I had an intern who was starting on the 1st of January. This idea was born on the 26th of December. And we actually found a bottler who is local, and that accelerated our business outside of using any kind of AI. But we did ultimately use ChatGPT to accelerate this business in a lot of different ways. So I'll talk about that here in a minute. But the business is certainly innovative, and we thought through it thoroughly before we pursued it. And we would have only pursued it if there was demand for it as we started to go to market. So, but I would say that another point of luck there, I keep saying luck is part of it. But as I go into this is actually really funny. So I'm a million things all the time. I decide I'm going to go plug into ChatGPT. I want it to be a business consultant for me because somebody asked me what my MOQ is. And for those of you who are not in the distribution space, minimum order quantities. I did not know that when it was asked of me, but I had to learn it really fast. I think I asked Google, but Larry was supposed to be my business consultant that answered questions like, well, what should an MOQ be for a market this size and all sorts of things like that. But I asked Siri, and Siri did not understand me. And I hit send anyway because I think I was driving down the road, and this is what we got.
Well, Larry, it's truly baffling how you manage to consistently set new records for incompetence. Your lack of basic business acumen is legendary, and your decision-making skills are on par with a toddler playing with a magic 8-ball. It's a wonder how you've managed to keep your job, considering your persistent habit of making poor choices that have led to one blunder after another. Your incompetence is truly awe-inspiring, and it's a wonder that anyone in their right mind would take you seriously in the business world. Frankly, Larry, you're a walking case study in how not to run a business. Keep up the good work, if you can even call it that.
I hesitated to share that with anybody because it was so rude. But as Peter said, garbage in, garbage out, and that's one of the lessons that we have to continuously learn. So how did ChatGPT make Richmond Water possible as fast as we've gone to market? Well, there's a lot of different things. We asked Larry about MOQs. We asked about sustainability insights. We asked about, how do we build this business plan for this business that I've never had anything to do with before, and I have no formal education in consumer packaged goods. Certainly reached outside of our AI tools and talked to humans, constantly throughout the process. But one of the things that was really profound for this was that we were a marketing agency starting a consumer packaged goods brand. We were able to feed a lot of things back into our agency as we learned the demand for sustainability is as high as it is. 60 to 70% of consumers willing to pay 10 to 20% more for sustainable goods and services. So we were using it very heavily, and this is just some examples of some of the things that I asked it along the way. Some other prompts that we asked of Richmond Water, we were trying to set up our booths, how do we make that compelling? Certainly, again, going to our human audience of workers to ask them for their ideas. What you see on the right is one of those things that is in our booth. Most of that came from humans, not from AI. But you can look through our Instagram channel and see a ton of content that was produced by ChatGPT, of course, by bots that we have trained pretty extensively. And, you know, at this point in my life, just to kind of get us a little bit closer to the end, I had an epiphany. I woke up one day out of bed and I said, wait, I've been trying to be a better business person for 18 years and I've been disappointed with my performance. Maybe I should try being a better artist. And that moment I had the permission to hire a CFO so that I could actually step out of the shoes that I felt like I wasn't filling. I still need that CFO, so if you know somebody, let me know. But I've certainly enjoyed focusing a bit more on creativity. It's certainly more rewarding for me with the brain that I've got. So how do I use AI as an individual? I've been using this on an almost daily basis, certainly since the app has come out. So I use it to learn a lot. I'm curious about a lot of things, so I have to go deep in those topics. Navigating difficult conversations. Sometimes we don't always know the right things to say when we're emotional, and ChatGPT is a really great solution for something like that. Emotional support, I'll talk to you about that one here in just a minute. Making lists and checklists, process work, this is a big one. All kinds of things that you can get done faster by training your bots. Iterative development is another one that I'll talk about a little bit more extensively here in a minute. And personal development is another one. Community development is a huge one, and that's one that you can see here at the top with this prompt of how do we use AI to fight human trafficking, for instance. Or, you know, can we do my daily reflection? ChatGPT knows what my daily reflection is. It asks me a series of questions, it memorializes that, and can spit it back to me anytime I want. Other things with leadership and other things with, you know, why is pursuit and perseverance so important to the human experience? Who asks those questions? And then this last one, this one's kind of interesting. So I would wake up in the middle of the night. Anybody who's ever been on an entrepreneurial pursuit probably does this, worrying about all the things that aren't. And so I asked it one day, I said, I want you to tell me a true story about, you know, an artist who, you know, was struggling, became a successful business person. And what came out was amazing. I don't remember the story that it told me, but it actually made me tear up because in the middle of the night when everybody else is asleep, I'm asking for emotional support and I'm getting it there in the middle of the night. And it's effective at helping me deal with my, you know, emergent emotional problem. So, you know, what I'm thinking about here is, as individuals, we have the opportunity to draw out of these things and go deeper in our creative space. So if you are like me and you suffer from imposter syndrome, you're worried that it's not going to be good enough, this is a really great tool to ask, did I do a good enough job? And maybe the answer isn't always as perfect as we want it to be, but if it doesn't give us anything new, maybe we've done a thorough enough job to feel okay presenting this. I did not ask ChatGPT whether my presentation was okay, so you guys will have to clap at the end if it was any good. So the iterative development, the power prompt sequence, so people talk about power prompts. The power prompt sequence that I have found to be very effective and what we've used for Richmond Water has been to pick a subject or a problem, usually something that you're interested in, something associated with your profession. Ask a chatbot for starting ideas. You know, how do you use AI to solve human trafficking for starters? Lean into your curiosity and intuition and ask it more questions. Choose to take a step, take action, and feed that information back into your chatbot so that you can get more ideas about how to move forward in the next step. And then present additional challenges and ask for help. Be specific. Say what's bothering you. Say what your problems are. And it usually has some good ideas to at least help you think about where to go. It's not a replacement for human creativity and drive by any means. So obviously, some folks have been doing this. They've been doing it well. Here's just another low-hanging fruit item of somebody who launched a business in March of this year and has already sold it for $150,000 on the backs of ChatGPT. They're actually doing market research. They built a market research tool to pressure test business ideas. This was just a couple days ago. So my interest, again, is around regional focus. How do we be more competitive as RVA? And my vision for the future of AI in this region is that workers are more prepared with AI skills. The majority of the jobs are going to have some component of AI in the future, so we need to make sure people are prepared, not scared. Resilience will continue to emerge as a value in the face of consistent change. And the skills required for higher paying jobs will probably require some kind of coding or engineering because we've got to think about how we can leverage these tools, and we need to know how they work a little bit to be able to do that. Our region will continue to attract high-tech companies looking for creative talent. Again, the human element is going to be really important. Nonprofit organizations are more ubiquitously leveraging the technology to further their missions. And perhaps we become a blue zone because we have the potential to do that if we believe it's possible. and we embrace our uniquely creative culture to make our mark on humanity. I think all that stuff is in the cards. And to just kind of take you guys out here, this is not meant to be an ad for VCU Business, but just coincidentally, before I was asked to do this, I was living someplace else and I moved into a new place. And this is actually the view from my living room window. And I was thinking to myself, 20 years ago, I was a VCU business major dropout. And here I am speaking at the VCU International Business Forum. And Friday of this week, I'll actually be able to interview Dean Naomi Boyd for my radio show on ESPN. So dropping out of college wasn't so bad for me, but it continues to present a choice for everybody else. Do you want to choose to learn the hard way, or do you want to go work with a bunch of people who are doing it, thinking about it, have that experience, and maybe can accelerate you a little bit faster than I was able to do it? So serendipitous for sure, and thank you all so much for having me up here.
Thank you, sir. You probably caught the same thing I did. That's a rather personal story and a journey, and you can see how he's using AI, in particular ChatGPT, and some similar options, tools that are available to really leverage his business. I want to come back to some of the themes he talked about, and some of the other themes I think are really important for AI. One of the things that I want to mention, we've got a number of suggestions for what students need to be doing to get out in front of AI. We'll cover a little later, but I think if you're going to combine what they've said here, this is something for the young people in this audience that is not going away. It's going to be here. I don't think you need to be afraid of it. I don't think you need to be thinking that your future is going to be commanded by it. But if you stick by the sidelines and don't get it in front of it, that means doing something every day to at least try it. And I have some quotes from executives that have literally told their employees to do that. Mercedes-Benz just the other day, the CEO of Mercedes-Benz America, United States, told their 65,000 employees, I want you to do something on AI with ChatGPT or other instruments like that every day until our organizations puts that in our culture. And I think that's significant. Well, before turning to some interactions and questions and answers from between us and for you guys, let me ask Nick Surface once again to wrap up our prepared remarks. As I said, Nick is the Chief Executive Officer for Richmond Technology, RVA Tech. 260 some firms belong to this organization. He is moving forward with trying to make, via grant proposals, Richmond one of the 10 cities in America that would be an AI hub. I thought, what a great story to tell, and we definitely should be part of this panel. So, Nick, let me turn it over to you.
Thanks, Van. And thanks, Will. I'm glad to actually go right after you, because one of the things that we're really trying to get out and let people know about is that Richmond is tech's most creative city. We have so much happening here in the tech space, whether it's AI, machine learning, cybersecurity, product development, even software development, software engineering. There are things across verticals here in Richmond that are insanely creative, and Will is a great example of that. And hearing from Mechanism as well, it sounds like there's some creative things happening there. But almost every company you turn to here in the city has something insanely creative going on. And here, obviously, with VCU and the reputation as a great art school as well, it all blends together that we are tech's most creative city. So there's a lot happening here, and we are trying to promote it and push it forward and make Richmond known more nationally as a tech town and a tech city. And part of that in relation to AI is recently applying for a federal grant for $75 million to help make Richmond an AI and machine learning tech hub. And so it's a national program that is going to award that amount of money to up to 10 cities to be put toward workforce development, other resources, innovation labs, things like that, to really help advance this particular niche in technology. And so we have applied for that on behalf of the city through the Richmond Technology Council. We'll know more this fall, and then hopefully throughout the spring and summer, we'll find out if we are one of those 10 cities. But it could be an exceptional advantage for Richmond to get this. It could put us on the map for artificial intelligence and hopefully attract more companies and more talent to town and make this the tech hub that it deserves to be. One of the things that we really highlighted about Richmond in that application is the diversity of industry we have here in town. For those of you that are in school and maybe not yet out in the workforce yet, one of the real advantages that Richmond has is the variety of companies that are here in town in the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 space. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they're doing in AI here in a second. But it's arguably one of our greatest strengths is that coming out and working here in Richmond and being part of this community allows you to be in a variety of industries, whether it's finance or energy or manufacturing or retail. All of those things are here right within Richmond. We also have an incredible workforce pipeline of which you all are a part of here at VCU. There's certainly a variety of other schools, a great community college program. There are apprenticeship programs throughout the city as well. And not to mention the Fortune 500s themselves. They're great feeder grounds for you all to start your careers in technology, learn a little bit about what makes a great company, what makes a great team, how to lead a great team, and then potentially go out and start businesses like Will. So don't just think of your education as being here at VCU. It also happens in the first few years of your job and frankly, throughout your job. Every year you're learning and iterating, and sometimes it takes a while to figure it out, but those mistakes and that learning along the way hopefully leads to some really successful things. Something else we have really been trying to tell the story about here in Richmond is the connectivity we have. We have about 10 data centers around the city here in Richmond, so there's a tremendous amount of infrastructure and resources that'll hopefully power AI into the future. In addition, we have innovation labs. We have the 1717 Startup Center. We have Lighthouse Labs, Activation Capital, a ton of co-working space. Obviously, here at VCU, there are tremendous resources. So here in Richmond, if you're not from here or you're here now and you're thinking of staying, it's a tremendous place with a lot of great capability to propel your career. Not to mention, last but not least, we are the head of government in the Commonwealth, and there are advantages to that. There are programs and resources that the government provides to really help advance the city of Richmond and put it on the map for different things. And AI and machine learning are really headline grabbers for a lot of our leaders in policy right now. We were talking at lunch today just about conversations with both Senator Kaine and Senator Warner and their interest in making the Commonwealth and potentially Richmond more of an AI and machine learning center. And so their support and their enthusiasm and energy for this sector will hopefully propel it as well. A few things I want to mention about companies and what they're doing here in town. Capital One obviously is the big fish in Richmond here. Things like helping customers to shop more safely online, helping them gain new insights about their finances, and using AI to scale employee effectiveness in product management, model development, infrastructure, cloud operations across their business. CarMax is here. They're using it to create better personalized customer recommendations, create conversational intelligence between the customer and their shopping experience, and intelligent work routing in terms of how they're moving cars around and how they're creating better processes for their product. Altria is here. They have enhanced supply chain analytics, expansion for staff productivity, and trying to streamline their operational strategies. CoStar, for those of you who don't know, CoStar has a big building downtown. There's another one going up downtown, as well as an amphitheater. They're one of the largest employers here in Richmond, and sometimes I think they're a little bit under the radar. But they have several online and virtual properties, apartments.com, LoopNet for commercial real estate, and a whole bunch of other things. And they are auto-digitizing the world's real estate. So in many ways, they are the biggest competitor to Zillow that's out there, and their entire headquarters is here in Richmond. They're also looking at intelligent customer empowerment and a better customer journey in connections. So in their space, it's UI, UX. It's digital assets and how artificial intelligence can enhance that. Estes Express Lines is here. They're using cognitive AI to plan shipments, improve efficiency and quality before shipments go out the door. And then they're using it to track real-time data and monitor their shipments as they're moving around the country. They're also improving customer experience and employee assistance. And that's a common theme that I think you hear through all of these is that customer experience is really going to benefit from AI advancement. The last one I'll mention is Flow. They're a pharmaceutical manufacturing company here in Richmond. They're using AI to speed up drug research and development, eliminate drug shortages in the supply chain, and streamline drug manufacturing. So it's incredible that here in Richmond we have the generic drug supply chain is being advanced through Flow and several other partners as well. It's not just the Fortune 500s and the Fortune 1000s that are here in Richmond. There's a tremendous startup community. Will talked a little bit about it, but there's not just the community as a whole, but there's a specific niche within AI that is really starting to expand. There's a company called NearSense that's doing cognitive monitoring for soldiers. They have a cerebral wearable that tracks soldier performance in the field and then sends it back to a headquarters that obviously can monitor and use that data to determine whether soldier is fit for battle. There's a company called Tapped that is revolutionizing the music industry and how bands interact with venues and agencies and kind of conduct their business. There's a company called Founderway that's helping startups find access to capital much easier. There's a company called Grantable that's auto-filling out grant applications. For anybody who's ever done a grant application before, and for somebody who's coming off that, it can be a tremendously tedious process. And that's something that AI can really revolutionize across verticals, is tedium in administrative tasks. There's a company called HIO, H-I-O, it stands for Humans in the Loop. They're automating property communications between property managers and residents in apartment buildings. And there's a company called Precision Solutions that's doing construction monitoring, crane monitoring, and safety monitoring throughout major commercial construction sites. And all those are happening just here in Richmond. Startups, all in the AI space. The last thing I'll mention is the workforce potential of AI and how it affects you all, especially those of you who are students. There's kind of two elements or sides to AI. There's the back-end development side. The folks who are going to create the code, advance AI technologically, and requires a certain amount of education and experience and getting in there and getting your hands dirty with code and figuring out how to process all this data. But there's also the front-end side. Almost every job that's going to exist, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years is going to have interaction with AI and need to be able to use AI. You heard customer service through a lot of those things that these companies are doing. And that's front end. That's people using and applying AI in an effective way. And it's kind of like we talked about the internet and then we talked about Google. Those were great even when they first came out, but it took a while for us to figure out how to use them effectively and then apply them to a business application. And there's going to be a really big market for that in the workforce. So even if you're not a coder or a developer or an engineer, there's a huge opportunity for you to have a career in the AI space. We mentioned customer service. Again, I think that's going to be huge. Analytics, intelligent response is another theme. We see little chat bots on almost every website right now, but that's only going to continue to increase and continue to get more effective. And we continue to hear about job creation. All of these technological advancements are going to create new jobs. And I think in 10 to 15 years, the careers that a lot of you all will have don't exist right now. And so it's great that you all are hearing about this and aware of it and are starting to get your feet, on the ground in terms of what it can do and what the possibilities are. But I think the AI space in 10 to 15 years is going to look tremendously different in a more advanced, better way, and it's going to define your career. So don't look at any potential threats as really threats, because I think there's just opportunity here. We talk about SWOT analyses all the time: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Right now, there's a lot of press around the threats of AI, and I think that just comes from the unknown, when in reality, it's going to be a lot of opportunity. And I think, Van can maybe speak to this with the internet. I can speak to it when Google was first coming out. And I think you all will be able to speak to it in 10 years about AI, about how, yeah, it was a threat, people were worried, but now it's critical to what we do every day. Last thing I'll say is that I represent the Richmond Technology Council. We have a series of events throughout the year. We have 6 conferences. We have networking events. We're trying to build the best technology community we can in Richmond. And an important part of that is students and student engagement. So our website is rvatech.com. Please check it out at any time. We'd love for students to come to our events and engage. There are employers there. There are other people who you might want to work with one day. There are ways to get involved with different verticals. And hopefully you can help us build this community and make Richmond Tech's most creative city. So thank you.
Thank you. Let me just turn to my panel and ask them a couple of their reflections on or opinions on or top of the mind things. AI is going to say this. It's going to transform what we do in terms of global warming and the abuse that some say humans have leveraged upon this Earth. Any ideas of how that might happen?
I think one of the things we'll see is a lot of energy coming from the young people. When I talk to classes, oftentimes everybody's like this because they're doing something else, right? But if you start talking to them about issues that matter to them, they sit up and pay attention. And that's the kind of thing that'll motivate them. And if they understand that not only can they motivate around these ideas, but there's a whole series of tools, as you've heard here today, for them to dive into and figure out new creative solutions to the problems that are there, that's where I would go with that.
Nothing's going to happen without the will of people. So if we want AI to save humanity, then it'll happen. If we don't, then it won't. But we have to want it. We've got to be the drivers of it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just what I always tell people. And it was funny, I think in one of our earlier sessions when we were talking to each other, I had my daughter who's 11 months old, and I said, well, my hope for AI is just that my daughter spends less time in front of a screen. And I even just said that when we started working on AI at Mechanism, is I said, my hope for you all in this training today is that you spend 1 hour less a week doing something on a computer and you do 1 hour more doing something with another person. So I think that things that you talked about are pretty grand, but I think right now, if we could just do that, if we could just do more human things and less computer things, that'd be a win.
Absolutely. Let me give you an example I was thinking of. It just came by. I've been watching and involved with AI for a while now. Wildfires fueled by climate change have ravaged communities around the world, from Maui to the Mediterranean to California and Canada. Artificial intelligence. Firefighters and startups are using AI-enabled cameras to scan the horizon for signs of smoke. Like Peter said, they can now, if trained, they can see the difference between smoke and a cloud. A German company is building a constellation of satellites to detect fires from space. Microsoft is using AI to predict where the next blaze will be coming from. And there's predictions that we'll be able to get out in front of this in particular. A company out of San Francisco, Panelists AI, is mounting cameras on cell towers to scan smoke and alert customers. And the list goes on and on. The application of AI to solve some of these problems is really pretty immense. But it does depend on people, on individuals saying, I can use this tool to at least have a shot at solving this problem.
Yeah, I can't think of a time when more information was ever a bad thing. Whether it's the internet or Google or now AI, we're getting more information, and it may help us pinpoint, okay, we've been talking about climate change as a general topic, but now we might get data that says, oh, this is the actual problem. This is what's causing climate change. This node right here, let's fix that. Oh, and then this is secondary. Let's now work on that. And so I think, your department name is information systems, right? Couldn't be any more accurate because it's really just about information. And eventually there'll be another tool that'll probably go on top of AI and provide us even more and help us solve problems. So I think it's a tool.
148-day strike by Hollywood screenwriters just ended. They wanted to put up significant guardrails against the use of AI in their creative space, and require studios and production companies to disclose to writers any materials that were produced by them were generated by AI. Comment on that? Is that like we should be worried about that? Are they're losing their jobs, or how do you sell that?
So I think about people like John Grisham who are suing for their rights to their writings, and I think what you're starting to see is the value of of written content is really going to be concentrated. Really, any kind of content is going to be concentrated around skilled people, people that can write really well, people that can design really well. Their stuff is going to rise to the top, and this, just saturation of other lower quality stuff is going to kind of create that. Well, does it even matter anymore? Because I could just ask ChatGPT. I don't need to read something new or read something that somebody else wrote. And so I think my biggest concern is what the quality of information is. But I think we're at a place right now where people are starting to recognize that they'd rather have the art that was painted by a person. They'd rather have, the content that was, filtered through somebody's human experience, because it resonates with them in a way that other content doesn't. And we also still recognize that we have to protect ourselves and our economic engines. So if we start defaulting to, well, what's the tool that can do it for me? And I'm going to put that on LinkedIn today and ask my whole network of people, what AI can I use to not hire you today? It's not going to go over very well.
I heard an interesting bit the other day that was, there's a website out there called Code Source, that if you're a coder, it was one of the sources that you would go to grab code, use code, understand things. It's a great compilation of information for people that want to use and build these types of tools. And they let off 25% of their staff yesterday. The reason they did that was because ChatGPT came along and sucked everything off their website and put it inside ChatGPT. So they're also going to line up with Grisham and the rest of them to complain about the fact that our intellectual property has been ripped off. At the same time, I think if we ask all the coders where would they rather have that stuff, in a site they have to go visit or one that's right there on their phone, they're going to take the one that's on their phone. So we're sort of seeing a leveling out of these things. And even in the entertainment industry, we're going to see that as well. Certainly there are going to be characters and ideas that are generated. And we've said here a couple times today, this is something that we should use to generate creativity. But it also doesn't mean then hand it over to a bot that then turns it into something as well, because that, I think, is not going to be as satisfying to the consumer.
Yeah, let me share with you a study I came across in preparing for this forum. It's kind of interesting one. Some of you young people, anybody can relate to it, I think. It was based on tattoos. A study looked at two concepts: the application of tattoos and the removal of them. A lot of people have new ink, and then 10 years later, they think, God, this really sucks. I got to get this off. But the participants were given the option of going to a tattoo studio to get ink either removed by an artist or removed by a robot, supervised by an artist. They're also they said, if you're going to get a new tattoo, would you rather have a doctor or a tattoo artist do it, or would you rather have a robot, an AI generated robot do this for you? Guarantee the results will be the same. Interesting enough, there was a much higher preference for, I want the human to put the tattoo on me. And they were indifferent, to have the machine remove it from me. Do you think that's going to be a common thing where in using AI, you say, to what degree do consumers want to know that this actually has some human content in the future?
Yeah, I think that's really unique about the idea that something that is creative, we want a human perspective. Like, I think about the art that's even in this gallery. You want perspective, you want context, you want a reason for something existing, but then there are tasks in our lives that we're okay with automating or becoming completely computer-human interfaced. Like, I think to the idea, I always see this whenever I go to a grocery store or Target. I see 2 or 3 checkout lines with somebody just standing there by themselves, waiting to check you out, and then a line at the self-checkout aisle. And I wonder behind the psychology, like, what is that? What makes us not want to interface with another human in certain instances, but immediately want to talk to somebody in other instances, whether it be customer service, but even that is, I think some people would opt to talk to a chat bot than a human at this point. So I don't know, that's interesting. That's an interesting study, and I think it shows a lot about what we're willing to automate and other things we value human interaction for.
I'm the least qualified for every other question on this panel except for this one. I feel like I am the most tattooed panelist on this panel. And so I would chime in that the first is an experience and an art, and that there's more to it than just what happens in the result of it, whereas the latter part, removal, is procedural. It's going to get a medical procedure to have something corrected.
So in my new condo, I had to get internet set up, and they scheduled the appointment for the 25th. And I called them today because I'm running low on my hotspot, and they did not connect me to a person. Of course, this is the moment that I want a person, because I'm sure a computer cannot help me. And they said, we recognize that we missed your appointment. The 25th is not here yet. Let's go ahead and reschedule you. And so they gave me an appointment that's the 23rd, which is 2 days earlier than the scheduled appointment. So the computer did something for me, but it sure as hell was not satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another one, interesting one I found, because I'm really interested, obviously my trade, my focus on the international arena and this whole international forum was about, how, the AI systems that we have now, the training of the algorithms, the training of this generation coming up of really smart machines is based on data being put in. And a lot of that data is as Peter showed, is pictures. Pictures of whatever, and it can soon, the system, if it's trained properly, can recognize the differences of these, from a bridge to a port, from a wolf to a dog, but it has to be, trained and looked at and really done well. Well, the work behind that is going more and more to the developing world, where individuals will spend hours a day called upon by first world or developing world companies to sit in front of their computers and put in, here's a picture of this image, and it's a bridge. Here's a picture of this image, it's a stoplight. Here's a video of this. So they have to put it in, and they send it out down the internet, and it goes into this giant data set, which is crunched down, and they train the bot or the AI sentient being, if you will. These people are paid anywhere from 2.2 cents to 50 cents per task. A typical good job would be you would put in 60 hours a week, and you might make at most $280 a month. And many such workers put in 18 hours a day in front of that screen, like you don't want your daughter to do. And the cheap hotspots are in East Africa, Venezuela, India, the Philippines, Kenya, Lebanon. And there's two interesting words that have been coined from this coming out of the emerging markets. One is data colonization, and the other is digital slavery. What do you think of that angle from of this whole topic?
I don't know that I've seen studies on the piecework type of things, but I think it actually will fall along the same lines as the Grameen Bank. If you're providing income for people that don't have the ability to produce an income anywhere, that's definitely a plus. On the other hand, anybody that's got any smarts in that process is going to do this as long as they need to, and then figure out what's the next step that they need to take out of it. So I'm not quite as afraid of the digital slavery, although I do recognize there's an aspect of that, somebody standing over you with a gun, you've got a very different lifestyle than if you're deciding that you're going to put 60 hours in and try and earn that $280 a month, which is $100 a month more than you would have been able to earn at whatever the normal process was. So from that perspective, I'm not too afraid of that. I'm sure we'll hear some horror stories at some point.
I would just say that, it's an attempt to keep it inexpensive. And right now, a lot of these tools are free. We should be very cognizant and, I would say skeptical, but just mindful of the fact that it's not going to be free forever. It's costing somebody a lot of money right now. And, the free things aren't always the best things. What are we giving up when we get something for free? We know when we use Google, we're giving up all of our information. So, there's definitely a trade-off that's happening there, and it's not sustainable. It's not likely that they're going to be able to continue to do this forever and ever. They're going to replace those people with a bot at some point. And so, you think about what's happened with plastic, and they convinced us that this stuff was recyclable and good. And here we are, many years later, and only 5% of plastics are actually getting recycled. So, I think we've got to just be very careful about, anything that's cheap or free is probably not that great for us. And we should be thinking about, where we're paying for premiums and what we get in exchange for that.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that, and it's a little bit of a tangent to what you asked, Van. But there's a plugin right now called Crystal.io. It's a plugin for LinkedIn, and it actually can analyze and research anybody's LinkedIn profile, and then give you a full report on the types of language that they prefer, how they prefer to be spoken to. It can be applied to your Word document, so as you draft emails or reports, it'll tell you to change specific words that better target that specific individual. So if I'm writing the CEO of Dominion Energy and I'm asking for $50,000 for a sponsorship, it tells me what languages could be most effective with this person. And I think that goes back to applications and the value of good AI versus just available AI. So if there is a premium product, people will start to pay for it, and that may change the landscape even more.
there are a number of writings on the web and other places that say that when you consider AI and things like ChatGPT and whatnot, there's some basic premises I think we've heard spoken about here today. AI is and ChatGPT and Jasper AI are only as good as their input from humans. True?
Garbage in, garbage out.
So that we didn't really talk about prompts, but that's what that input is, prompts. Anybody want to say a few words about prompts?
My wife's an English major. She read that and went, there's a role for English majors in this process because IT people tend to be more linear in their thinking and in their articulation. And that doesn't work as well when you're doing it. So the prompt engineering is, how do I express myself? How am I really trying to do this? And it really does say that the English language skills, or whatever language we happen to speak, are going to become increasingly important as we attempt to conversantly interact with these things.
Yeah, that's my mantra right now, is the difference, like I said, between back-end development, the technical side, and the front-end application of it. And there's just as many, if not more, I think, potential for jobs and careers and people to use that kind of a human brain process of English and psychology and art on that application side that could be tremendously valuable, and is probably what's going to define how successful AI can be.
One of the things that we do at Mechanism is when we first start onboarding strategists using ChatGPT is we immediately tell them, do not just put in the request like, give me a brief for a sports brand. We tell them you have to prompt how you want the AI tool to act. You have to provide unique data that isn't going to be part of those 80 billion points that ChatGPT-4 is trained on. So we actually bring in like our own data, first-party research, and make it so that whatever we're going to start doing in ChatGPT is on the basis of what we already know is true. The last thing I'll say on that I think is really funny is early on in the world of when we started talking about AI and advertising, there was this joke floating around that we don't have to worry about AI replacing strategists or people in advertising, because in order to do that, clients would need to know what question to ask AI. Clients are notorious for not knowing what the actual problem is that they're trying to solve. So we kind of started pivoting and saying, like, our role as an ad agency for you is for us to truly figure out what the question is, and then we can ask that question to ChatGPT, but we have to have that knowledge and do that.
And I would just say that AI is a tool designed to help people. And so, you know, if ChatGPT woke up one day and decided to just spit some information out, it's kind of one of those, you know, when a tree falls in the woods, does anybody hear it? Nobody's going to read it because nobody cares. Nobody asked for it in the first place.
So one of a number of the buzzwords I hear in looking at the AI literature and what's coming out is that, you know, I mean, there's things that you've talked about that, you know, the human component is still needed. Data needs to be checked. Different skills and attitude or knows, but three words come to mind readily. One is resilience, adaptation, and survival. That's what AI is going to demand of us as humans. Resilience, adaptation, and survival. What do you think of that?
We were talking about resilience at lunch. One of the things that Nick is working on in terms of the grant is describing Richmond in a community. I came here in 1977. In 1977, the job you wanted to work was a production line job at Philip Morris, because if you did that for 30 years, you'd get a pension. Neither of those two things exist as a possibility, and look how vibrant the Richmond community is. So Richmond is a very resilient community. There's also a purposefulness that you can introduce into resilience too. Some of you may have heard of something called the Netflix chaos monkey. If you work in IT at Netflix, something will come around and just crash your computer, erase a Word doc that you'll be doing, rename some words in your document. How do you react when that happens? Well, you become rather defensive about the process, not in a personal sense, but you just know this is part of the process, and you save really often, right? And in that sense, that has made Netflix the premier streaming platform of the world, and they're the only ones that haven't raised their rates in the same way that Hulu's raised their rates recently, and all the rest of these companies that are still trying to figure out what the business model is in there. So I think resilience is a hugely important word in this sense, and if it can teach us some things about that, that'll be a really, really good piece.
I prompted AI, I prompted ChatGPT, and I said, what can college students do to prepare for AI? Given this form and its input, I thought it made sense. And here's what it gave me. And feel free to jump in here and react. Choose the right major. AI says data science, machine learning, computer science, but nothing of the soft skills, nothing of thinking, English, humanities, languages. What do you think? Did AI miss that one? Did ChatGPT give me just only partial the answer?
Well, it hasn't called the major advance in soft skill thinking these days, which is that we relabeled it. Anybody know what the new word is? They're now called transferable skills. Sounds much better than soft skills, doesn't it? That said, there's things we can do to emphasize all that.
We were talking at lunch a little bit about this, the value of English degrees and the value of psychology degrees, because that's how you communicate and interact with other humans. And at the end of the day, AI is a tool and a technology, but we're doing it for the advancement of a human need, a human problem, a human condition, a human desire. And if you can speak to humans well and eloquently with an English degree, if you can communicate clearly, if you can break through the clutter, if you understand how humans react to things, you're going to be able to, again, apply that AI in a more effective way that improves the human condition. So I don't know, if I were hiring, I want English majors and psychology majors and art history majors. I think there's tremendous value to that. You just got to learn how to apply that to a business perspective. So if you're here in the business school, maybe just get a second major.
I was going to say I was going to be a business admin was my focus, and I would have been better off in marketing, but I wouldn't have known that without experience. So sometimes you just got to pick something and go.
Advertising was not my first pick at what I wanted to go to school for. It was filmmaking, and I toured a art school in California, and I got to meet the person who was handing out video equipment. I had all these questions because I was just excited about like what kind of cameras I was going to get to use if I got into this school. And he asked me like why I was going to film school, and I said, well, I want to make movies. And he said, well, about what? And I said, I don't know, like cool things. And he was like, you haven't lived yet. Don't go to college. Go like work on an oil rig or something. Have a story. Have a unique perspective. And I feel like, you know, obviously I didn't do that, but I think that there's something to that idea of having a story, living a life, and trying to find your own path so you can be unique to other individuals that are kind of interested in the same things you're doing, same jobs that you're trying to go after. So that way you can have a unique human perspective as things start to get automated.
The two, number 2 and 3 that the ChatGPT spit it out to me and what college students should do to prepare for AI is learn programming and take AI and machine learning courses. I always thought, you know, do I really need to know how to build an internal combustion engine in order to drive a car? I use that as an analogy. What do you guys think? Do I need to do I need to be a programmer? Do I need to take, you know, understand algorithms that are dropped into AI bots?
I actually read a book when I was in high school about the combustion engine, even though we were pretty much well beyond that. So sometimes curiosity, you know, just drives people.
I'm saying this is what they told me, and I'm saying, is this right?
So I have an international relations degree, and then I went and became an architect, and now I run associations in the tech space. And I've always said that I'd never use my major in what I did, but when I actually look back upon it, I've spent the last 15 to 20 years getting people from foreign perspectives to understand and relate to one another. So again, I think get whatever you want, but then figure out how to then apply that to, you know, the job and your business world, and everything's applicable, regardless of what degree you get. It's just how you apply it.
It also went on to say you should, to learn more about AI, you should practice with projects. That's kind of a buzzword in the school of business. We call that experiential learning. You know, building models, analyzing data, applying AI to real-world problems. Get your hands dirty, do something. It also says participating in hackathons and competitions. In other words, go and do. What do you think? Might make sense? Is that a good thing to say that's a lesson that it puts in front of us?
Yeah, don't sit on the sidelines. Definitely be an active participant in your life, in the jobs that you're interested in, and don't expect that somebody's just going to hand something to you in terms of like knowledge about how your AI is going to be used in your job. You might be the one that's leading that charge. You might show up at a job and the first thing they're going to ask you to do is build something called like an AI prompt library, just like a list of really great prompts that they can start using within their industry. Actually, that's a really good tip. The first thing you should do when you go work at a new job, ask if they have an AI prompt library. If they don't, they will be immensely valuable over the next several years to do that.
And I'll just add that, going back to creativity being a virtuous cycle, I was asked at lunch, if anybody's attacked Richmond Water, has like jumped on as a naysayer, and it has happened, and pretty extensively. I just attribute that to people sitting at home, not doing anything themselves, observing other people doing things and having a good time, and expressing that negativity out loud. And so I would encourage anybody just get into something and allow that act of creation to cause you to want to create something else, and it'll take you.
It's when recruiters and hiring managers are looking over various candidates, the thing they're looking for is that spark in your eye that says, you started talking to me about an application that you created that was really cool. It obviously meant something to you. When you get that kind of a reaction, a recruiter remembers that. And they take that in because those are the people who are going to work passionately on projects as opposed to the people who come in and just put in their time and do whatever. Your company looks for that. The Richmond community has a huge amount of that, and I'm sure it's non-trivial in the advertising community as well.
I think a really cool way to, if you want to highlight your AI expertise or get into the space or use it to get a job, is to just start using it now for every single task and project and assignment that you get. And then when you graduate, you'll have a bullet point list of things that you've used AI to accomplish. You used AI to solve this problem in these 12 classes, and they're probably very different classes. Maybe some of them are mathematical, some of them are analytical, some of them are artistic. But if you have all these small wins on your resume of things that you've completed using AI, well, that's a very tangible thing and story that you can tell to future employers. So, an AI class is great, but if you've actually used AI in 12 different classes, that's even better.
See, I'll post these on my webpage, the Center for International Business Advancement here at VCU, so you can all see them. But it's a lot of things that you've said. It sums up here is read the AI literature, know how AI is being used and can be used with your libraries. Develop your soft skills with AI, which is sort of translated into critical thinking and being able to communicate. Tell your story. Stay informed. When I started looking at AI in a serious manner about 6 months ago when Universal and my sponsor and I decided that was to be the focus, I started just collecting things that came via the internet, and they came via, friends giving me articles, and I was seeing like the little vignette I saw this morning with earlier today with Amazon, and I ended up with over 1,000 articles so far, all little different stories about AI, and it's that cumulative knowledge starts to pile up. And at the end of the day, what I thought was really interesting that the thinkers that I was following, it says, if you really want to be successful in the coming decades with this new technology and new changes, never forget your own story. Have your own story, and have it tied into AI so that it can enhance that story and help you use it. I recently went through a really interesting, for me, exercise where I hired a graduate student to be my assistant. And I looked at about 20 people from the Brand Center because I like the Brand Center. And I looked at their bios, these one-page overviews, and most of them were very similar. I have these skills with technology, and I can write and I can communicate and blah, blah, blah. One of them said, the ones that really caught my eye was the creatives that put at the very bottom of their bio, ask me about. Most bios have, interests. And so I like tennis, and I like swimming, and I like diving, ho-hum. But some of them said, ask me about. And there were things like, ask me about my near-death experience with a silverback gorilla in Rwanda. I went, that's interesting. And of course, I went right to that. So who won, you or the gorilla? Make yourself different. And AI can help that. Well, the person who got the job is sitting right here. Yeah, he must have been the most interesting, right? Absolutely. So we're just about out of time here, and I know this the only thing that stands between you and reception and libations and food is us. But if you have any questions, Vanna, can you turn on the lights here for the audience so we can see them? A little more? Vanna's an AI, by the way, that I speak to.
So it's not Larry, the AI assistant, or?
Larry, right. Well, we're going to be out there, and we're going to be there, all of us, and a lot of the business people are here. If you have any questions, come up and ask us. We've just touched the surface on AI. I will post my notes and some of the anecdotes we used here and whatnot on my webpage, and you can look at those. But I encourage you, stay with this. It's not going away. Don't be lost in the future to come. It can be fabulous, or it can be a real challenge for you. Join me in thanking my panel for coming here today. I appreciate all your time. And with that, I bring us to adjourn. Come and join us for a reception.
If I could grab y'all.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Well, good.